U.S. intelligence report reveals Putin scaled back ambitions in Ukraine. According to a new U.S. intelligence community assessment, Russian President Vladimir Putin has reportedly pared back his goals in the war in Ukraine. The analysis comes over 1 year into a conflict that has left Russian forces with hundreds of thousands of casualties and without significant territorial gains. The report states that Putin's new focus is solely on maintaining territory that has already been seized and preventing Ukraine from joining NATO. Putin's change of focus comes after Russian forces failed to seize significant swaths of territory in the last several months, and the Kremlin's influence arm has been amplifying speculation about providing military aid to Ukraine. While a negotiated settlement appears to be the only solution, Putin may be willing to wait for support for Ukraine to dry up in Western countries, which would give him the opportunity to reignite Russia's offensive effort in the future. Putin's new ambitions for Ukraine. The U.S. intelligence community believes that Putin's immediate ambitions in Ukraine are to consolidate control of the occupied territory in eastern and southern Ukraine and ensure that Ukraine will never become a NATO ally. Avril Haines, the director of national intelligence, indicated that Putin might be willing to claim at least a temporary victory based on the territory he has already occupied. However, the prospect for Russian concessions to advance negotiations this year will be low unless domestic political vulnerabilities alter Putin's thinking, according to Haines. Counteroffensive by Ukrainian armed forces. Ukrainian armed forces are preparing to launch a counteroffensive sometime in the spring or summer to push Russia out of territory in eastern Ukraine, according to U.S. intelligence. But the probability of either side achieving their political objectives through the sole use of military means is going to be very difficult, very challenging, says General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Secretary of State Tony Blinken encouraged negotiations for peace between Russia and Ukraine, insisting that any peace agreement must have the territorial integrity and sovereignty and independence of Ukraine as its foundation. The future of Russia's military capabilities. The director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Lieutenant General Scott Berrier, says that it might take as long as a decade for Russia to rebuild its military capability after suffering massive losses in Ukraine. Russia's deteriorated conventional military prowess will likely force it to rely on other sources of power, such as cyber attacks, which it has been accused of using in previous conflicts. According to Haines, Moscow has suffered military losses that will require years of rebuilding and leave it less capable of posing a conventional military threat to Europe and operating assertively in Eurasia and on the global stage. As a result, Russia will become even more reliant on asymmetric options such as nuclear, cyber, space capabilities, and on China. Conclusion. The U.S. intelligence community assessment of Putin's new goals in Ukraine is a stark analysis of the current situation. While Putin's immediate ambitions appear to have scaled back, a negotiated settlement is still not guaranteed. Ukrainian officials are pushing to push the Russians out of all territory Moscow has seized since 2014, while U.S. officials are hinting at a settlement in some form. The timing of any Russian operation to rebuild is not clear at the moment, and Moscow's deteriorated conventional military prowess will likely force it to rely on other sources of power such as cyber attacks.